Hi, I'm Andy Smiley, the Friendly Podcast Guide. Every week, I put out 2 episodes. The first episode is about a specific podcast to help you figure out if it's your next favorite podcast. Those episodes come out on Tuesdays. I also put out another episode each Thursday that's a little more personal. Either a list of podcasts I like for the season we're in, how I'm using podcasts in my own life, or something like that. This is one of those episodes, and this week it's all about plant podcasts. I'm so excited that it's almost spring that I just had to do a podcast about plants. Hopefully, this episode gets you excited about spring too. The first plant podcast on my list is for those of us who want a daily dose of green in our lives. It's called Epic Gardening. This podcast will give you a short and sweet nature fix. Kevin is the host, and he brings you answers to your gardening questions every day. The length of each episode is 5 to 10 minutes, and I would recommend starting with the episode called Growing Cut Flowers. It gives you some evidence for Kevin's gardening prowess, helps you understand the flow of the show, and you learn about the process of growing cut flowers. If you want a podcast that's more broad in its conversations about plants, I would try In Defense of Plants. Matt, the host, talks to different botanical experts every week with topics ranging from orchid bees to ancient earth plants to how outdoor recreation can affect plants. You can feel Matt's passion for all things plants in every episode, and I can almost guarantee that you will learn something new every time you listen to his show. The length of each episode is about an hour, and to get a taste for the show, you should start with episode 404, The Secrets of Vanilla Dispersal, where Matt learns from Dr. Adam Karamans about the plants that create the well-loved scent and flavoring of vanilla. You get a feel for Matt's interviewing style and the interesting topics he covers on the show. If you're looking for a podcast specifically about houseplants, On the Ledge is a good one for you to check out. Jane Perrone is the host, and she will give you practical tips on how to grow all sorts of houseplants. She has a mix of episodes with some being conversations with plant experts and others where she teaches you from her own expertise. The length of each episode is 30 minutes to an hour, and I would recommend starting with episode 248, 31 Fascinating Facts About Houseplants, where you learn about houseplants while getting a feel for the fun anecdotes that Jane sprinkles into all of her episodes. Before I tell you about more plant podcasts, we're going to take a quick break to talk about my free guide to find a podcast you'll love. I hope you're excited about one of the plant podcasts I'm talking about today, but if you're not sure if any of them are a good fit for you, I have a guide that can help you find a podcast you'll love. The guide has 9 different types of podcasts like history, parenting, and health and wellness, and under each type of podcast, there are links to 3 different shows. That's 27 podcasts for you to choose from. If you try a couple and you don't like any of them, I put my email at the bottom of the guide so you can get in touch with me and I will personally help you find a podcast you'll love. You can grab this guide at the link in the show notes. Okay, back to my list of plant podcasts. For all of the history buff plant lovers out there, The Daily Gardener is the podcast for you. This is a daily podcast that is currently taking a break. The last episode was released on November 30th, 2022. But there's a treasure trove of fascinating episodes about gardening, plants, and their complex history. Each episode also features a book about plants or gardens for you to use to learn even more about our leafy friends. The length of each episode is 25 minutes. To get a feel for the show, I recommend starting with the episode from June 2nd, 2022. It has interesting facts about Martha Washington being a gardener, a fascinating story about a man who had information about building a bomb who buried it in his garden, along with other interesting stories, and a recommendation for a beautiful book about places where floral passions find a place to blossom. This episode not only teaches you about interesting plant facts, but also helps you understand the flow of the show. We all know that having plants around us improves our well-being. And if you didn't know that, then I'm glad I was able to teach you something that will hopefully improve your life. In the podcast, Growing Joy with Plants, you learn about how to take care of your plants and yourself. Maria, the host, knows that the answer to being happier could be as simple as caring for plants and connecting with nature. She says, houseplants and gardening do more than beautify our homes and lawns. The act of caring for them helps us reduce stress, increase joy, and cultivate connections with ourselves, others, and the earth. In this podcast, you learn with Maria how to care for plants, which in turn helps us all manage our overwhelm and stress and live a happier and calmer life. The length of each episode is about an hour, and a good episode to start with is the episode called Codex Plant Care with Plant Daddy Pod, where you learn about a cool and beautiful plant and get a feel for the vibe of Maria's show. I hope that you're excited about one of these plant podcasts. While I was doing the research for this episode, Scott, my partner, made me promise that we wouldn't buy any more plants because he knew listening to all of these podcasts would make me a bit plant baby hungry. He was right, but I stood by my promise because we don't have any more shelf space that has decent light for houseplants. But we might just have to buy some more shelves first. I'll keep y'all up to date. Also, if you want to learn about podcasts that talk about other things you're interested in, grab my guide to finding a podcast you'll love. Talk to you soon.